So I'll get to some holiday stuff a little later, but I'm going to start on the most sacred thing to me, which is some rock and roll. Is that okay? So very important question. What is the greatest rock and roll song of all time? Stairway to Heaven. Did I hear Rock Around the Christmas Tree? Dr. Barry, wisdom is in the room. What is it? Like a Rolling Stone. He was ready to go. It was fun in the line after the first service. I got In the Gata Davida, Superstition, so many great songs. And sorry to be a rock and roll fundamentalist, but the correct answer is Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were such good songwriters, they could write songs in their sleep. Literally. Did you know that the seeds for the song Satisfaction came to Keith Richards while sleeping? He shared the following in an interview. I had one of the first little cassette players, Norelco, Philips, same thing really, but it was a fascinating little machine to me. A cassette player that you could actually just lay ideas down and, wherever you were. I set the machine up and I put in a fresh tape. I go to bed as usual with my guitar and I wake up the next morning. I see that the tape is run to the very end. And I think, well, I didn't do anything, I said maybe I hit a button while I was asleep. So I put it back to the beginning and push play. And there in some sort of ghostly version is da 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 da. I can't get no satisfaction. And so there was a whole verse of it. I won't bore you with it all, and after that, there's, 40 minutes of me snoring. Now, Keith Richards had talent. He had the dumb luck of becoming friends with Mick Jagger. But notice his commitment to his creative process. Sleeping with his guitar. Having the tape recorder right there. The best song makers stay committed to the creative process. And my message to you today is just like there was a song for Keith Richards, there's a song in and for your life. That each and every one of us has a song, and if we are committed to our creative process, we can bring it harmoniously into our lives and they begin to sing. What is your relationship with your heart's song? Song, of course, representing your soul. Some of us have never dared to sing our song. Some of us feel like we've sung our song. We're kind of sick of it, had enough of it. Some of us said, I'm not going to sing my song. I'm going to try to sing someone else's song. My song's too corny. It could never be on American Bandstand or in the top 40. I'm going to try and sing what other people want me to sing. Hell, I'm going to get rid of music altogether and just watch the news and listen to the news all the time. My message to you today is that we all have a song, we all have a soul. And block it as much as you want, but you can't stop the music. You can't stop the music. Henry David Thoreau wrote in a cabin he built on Walden Pond, if a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away. What are the mediums in your life that best bring forth your song? The creative activities, the relationships, the alone time, the music that you listen to. And what might be the mediums that are holding or stagnating your song? Mediums that maybe served you at a time, but now are silencing your voice, inhibiting your heart and keeping the harmony of your life from being played. Another musical question for you today. What medium did you grow up listening to music most through? How many of us was vinyl records? 45s or LPs? Where are my 8-track people? Leonard Skinner fans. Audio cassettes. That's me mostly. Compact discs. How many people had a Walkman? Oh yeah. iPods, iPhones, etc. We all have our mediums. And something about me, if you were to ask me my true hobby in life, my favorite thing to do when I have time off, it's to make mixes, musical mixes. I loved making mixes for my high school crushes, taking songs from the vinyl and transferring them onto audio cassettes. I love making that mix from the computer onto the CD for the road trip that I'm about to take. And now I might make a playlist on Spotify to tell the soundtrack of my life. How many people have Spotify and got that weird message where it knows you better than you know yourself and everything that you listen to? There was an art to mix making, especially for those crushes when I was growing up. You had to be so careful not to express your love too much on the first song, right? Because you'd immediately be put into the creepy or stalker category. Don't put God Only Knows as track 1. And yet you had to reveal enough in the final song to let her know how you feel, but you could be totally sadcore. That's where you put the Cure song. And the tricky thing with the audio cassettes is they would have this bit of silence. So you'd finish a song, and sometimes there'd be 2 minutes left on the tape. And so you had to decide, do I leave it blank? Do I find a song short enough to put on there? Or do I commit the cardinal sin, which is to have the song end on one side and start again on the other? So the important things. But we probably all had an experience where we enjoyed the medium of the music that was expressing, but something new came out that would no longer play on that medium. The new U2 record's on CD. I can't get it on vinyl. Whatever it may be. But when that happened, we didn't look at our record player and say the music has died. We evolved. As hard as it was, we spent the money and invested in that new medium to play the music that we wanted to hear. And it's no different in our lives. Mediums can uplift us, but they can sometimes fail us. And one of the biggest mistakes we can make in our lives is when we mistake the music for the medium. The medium is not always the message. And when our life feels stagnant and our song feels dormant, one of the things we want to do is to either release or reinvent the mediums that we're playing and moving forward in. I got to write an article for the Science of Mind magazine in March entitled, "You Can't Stop the Music." And the main thing I wanted to apply it to is this concept of church. Every 3 months, almost like clockwork, if you read the news, you'll see some article that says that church attendance is declining across all faiths in the United States. And some people look at that and they think, oh, people are less spiritual. But I don't think that's the truth. Perhaps some people have felt betrayed by the medium of church. Perhaps some people are so busy that they can't make it or they can get it through their phones. And I always laughed when Bertrand Russell talks about, well, wherever you see moral progress taking place in the world, you're certified a religionist there with a sign saying, not so fast. It can feel dormant and restrictive, but you can't stop the music. It doesn't mean that people still don't seek spirituality, perhaps more now than ever. So what's our challenge as a church, as Mile High Church? We have to reinvent the medium in meaningful and relevant ways. We have to compete with the soccer games and everything else for people's time, and yet we have to learn that the way we grow as a church is to not say, hey, our church is the best around, join our church. Well, no one wants to join a church. We have to point right back at the person and say that we measure our success not just by how many people are in the seats or how much we take in the offering plate, but did we make your life better? Did being a part of Mile High Church make your life better? We measure our success by changed lives, and that's what the reinvented church of the 21st century needs to look like. It has to be a spirituality that speaks to the relevancy of our lives, that helps us live as better people in better communities with a better sense of spirit and soul. I would apply this idea of you can't stop the music as well to our deepest and our most profound prayers. A lot of us, we pray every day for things to happen or for something not to happen, but there are also those prayers that come from the deepest part of our heart. Sometimes we even articulated them as children, to know what is it truly like to really, really love and really, really be loved. God, what does it mean to live a full life and to become who I really am, serving a cause greater than myself? What does it mean to truly live? And we say these prayers, we think these prayers, we feel these prayers, and sometimes we forget all about them, but our life never does. And it's always seeking to draw us into mediums to experience the song of our heart's prayer, to manifest and be embodied in new ways. And so the prayer leads us into relationships. It leads us into vocation and jobs. It leads us into our way of being and behaving. And yet, sometimes, have you ever noticed the same prayer that brings you into the relationship can be the same prayer that takes you out of it? That the same prayer that brings you into the right job is the same prayer that helps you realize it's not the right job for you anymore? That helps you realize that and demonstrate the way of being in day-to-day life, but also calls you into a greater way of life? It's okay to let those mediums go. You don't have to be mean about it. But sometimes we're called to let those mediums go or to reinvent them in a way that can play the music of our hearts. But if we're only attached to the mediums, when they begin to fail us, we make that mistake of convincing ourselves that the music has died. But you can't stop the music. I apply this as well to the prayer that is our country, the prayer that is the United States of America. We had an election last month. Did you notice that? Some of us are pleased with the results. Some of us are unhappy. And so on Inauguration Day on January 20th, some of you will be watching with a tear in your eye, and some of you will be under a blanket drinking red wine. Having that grand epiphany of, you know what, I can watch Hallmark Christmas movies all year long. And I'll be watching, and the thing that I always think about, because for me, a country is not its executive branch, it's not its legislative branch, it's not its judicial branch, it's this prayer. Some people say America was founded on an idea. I say it's founded on this prayer of liberty and justice and the pursuit of happiness for all people. And yes, it was articulated by white men for white men, but when the prayer was released, it became a prayer for everyone. It's a prayer that manifested itself in the work of Frederick Douglass, in the work of Eleanor Roosevelt, in the work of Martin Luther King Jr. You can't stop that music. That prayer for that freedom and that liberty and that justice continues to manifest itself. Sometimes we, the people, we move it way forward, and sometimes we're like Milli Vanilli, just saying the lyrics, lip singing along, and have no idea what the words mean. But I go back to that beautiful prayer. You can't stop the music. You can delay it for a little while, but you can't stop the music. How can you and I best hear the music of our soul and seek to integrate it harmoniously into the weaving and beauty and splendor of our everyday lives? First, tune in to a new station. what does it mean for you to tune in to a new station? You want to play your song? Love the moment that you're in. If you can love the moment that you're in, your song will begin to play and come forward. What's that old song? If you can't be with the moment you love the moment you're in. Right? And when we can do that, we can get that harmony going. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, referred to the individual, to each and every one of us, as spiritual broadcasting stations. That's what you are. That's what I am. I am a spiritual broadcasting station. Let's say that together. I am a spiritual broadcasting statement. Yeah, it works. Hopefully not a lot of bad advertising on there. And he means it in two ways. One, it's so important what you tune into, what you take in, but even more important is what you put out. What is that wavelength that best suits your disposition to bring in what helps your song to play and to put it out in a way that can be heard and felt? Holmes shares with us, let us find a new wavelength for our mental instruments. And as surely as we do this, we shall begin to broadcast on this wavelength. We shall discover that we are not only helping ourselves, but are helping everyone around us. Let us tune our mental instruments to success and happiness, to the idea of physical wholeness, and above everything else, to the comforting thought that there is a love in the universe which by its very presence dissolves all hate. There is a faith that neutralizes all fear. There is a confidence that brushes aside every doubt. And that's your song. That's your song. No one else can play it but you. It's your incredible uniqueness. It's your depth of spirit. And when you allow it to sing, the grievances and the fear and the anxieties and the stress, they don't entirely go away, but they dissipate to a level that does not begin to compare with your mental and heart-centered clarity for what you're putting out into your life and to what you allow to receive back into yourself. Tune in to a new station. And if you're clinging to the old mediums, remember, you can't stop the music. It's going to get through. I am a self-confessed music snob. A musical connoisseur. It's probably because I came and was born into the best musical decade ever, the 1980s. Madonna, Michael Jackson, Duran Duran, NXS, U2, The Human League, and the list goes on and on. All right, maybe the 60s were better. See, I like that we can be fun, we can be open-minded in terms of religion, but when it comes to music, And I remember it was my 18th birthday. It was November 6th, 1998. And all I wanted to do was to drive to Hollywood, California, an hour and a half away, to go to the big Virgin megastore where they had those British import CDs that only I listened to, because I would never let anyone decide what music I was going to hear. And so I'm sure I'm driving there and I'm listening to my tapes of Paul Westerberg and the Replacements, and I take them out and the radio's on, and here's a new song by a band called the New Radicals called You Get What You Give. It was an incredible song with amazing lyrics like, don't let go, you've got the music in you. One dance left, this world is gonna pull through. Don't give up, you've got a reason to live. Can't forget, we only get what we give. There is nothing more profound than being corrected by the present moment. There's nothing wrong with nostalgia and honoring the past mediums, as I'll get to momentarily, unless we're blocking out that new life, that new song, that new idea, that new connection, that new epiphany that's waiting for us if we could just let go of the old, tired medium for a moment. So tune in to a new station, but also honor the old mediums and allow them to play in new ways. Honor the old mediums, and allow them to play in new ways. Because we all know the thing about the old mediums, they're going to come back into style. Vinyl's back in, baby. Holiday time is a rich time. It's a repetitive time, always calling us back into ourselves. And it's a wonderful time to dust off those old mediums and to allow them to play in new ways. The holiday time is also an incredibly difficult time for so many who miss the people they love so much, who are not here with them anymore. I had that level of loss this year, as many of you know, and I think I always intellectually understood what so many of you were going through, but boy, did I not get it. How hard it is. How sad it is at times to miss those ones that you love. Yet how important it is to remember that although our loved one no longer expresses through the medium of their body that once expressed as them, that their music never died, that their song is as present as always, and it is up to us not only to honor their memory, but to honor the wholeness of our lives, to find those right new mediums for their song to play and to sing. Could be as simple as listening to music that they loved, eating something they thought was delicious, giving a gift on their behalf to someone they loved and cared about. It can be a sad challenge. This is where the pain is, as Cody so wonderfully expressed. And yet, when we can bring those new mediums to play, that music that is so essential to our heart, it can bring us into newfound harmony and grace. Lastly, today is to find harmony in the stillness. Articulate your song by shutting everything down and getting quiet. Those are usually my almost most favorite moments of the holidays, especially being with the kids is so special. But there's always a moment on the porch getting a breath of fresh air, looking out the window while doing the dishes. There's this moment of solitude, this moment of aloneness that is like the record needle going into the groove. It's like rewinding the cassette tape to getting ready to play again. And it's the recognition that if I want to play a new song, I have to pause. There has to be some space. There has to be some silence. And the true essence of this metaphor of music begins to come through, because music is timeless. Your song of your soul is timeless. Yes, the music may have been recorded on an instrument or a medium in the past, but it exists forever. And there's something about that stillness that centers that music in our heart, that brings what is eternal of the past and of what is yet to be into our being now, so that we can live in greater harmony and in wholeness. This is the essence of what the great Dickens said through his anti-hero, Ebenezer Scrooge. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. I wish you, more than anything else, that moment of silence, that moment of grace, that moment of solitude which reveals to you that you are never truly alone, that there is always a song in, through, and around you, willing, ready, able, if you are willing to be transparent to its harmony, to come about, to take hold, and to create a whole new kind of dance in your day-to-day life. Remember, don't let go. You've got the music in you. One dance left, this world is going to pull through. Don't give up. You've got a reason to live. Can't forget, we only get what we give.